Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second podcast that covers day 33, chapters 29 and 30. In this podcast, we're going to cover objectives 2 through 4, well, 2 through 5, the last 4 objectives. And in these, if you looked in the textbook, this covers a lot of pages. But if you look at your note-taking guide, in some cases, we tell you exactly what you need to know without even looking at your textbook. But in this podcast, we're going to highlight some of those things. So objective 2 is about the bryophytes. Okay, so this is our first group of plants, bryophytes. In your note-taking guide, it tells you exactly what you need to know. That they include the mosses, liverworts, and hornworts. We haven't made the exam yet, but I think that it's key that you know that they are the mosses. And that they had some key adaptations that distinguished them from the other groups and allowed them to evolve from the green algae. Unlike some other plants that can live in completely dry, in very dry environments, the bryophytes have to have a moist environment. Not in the water, but moist environment. If you think about where you've seen moss growing, that is why. They need to be in these moist environments. They have a waxy cuticle, and the bryophytes are dominated by the gametophyte stage. It's the only one of the 4 groups that's dominated by the gametophyte stage. In objective 3, we're going to focus on the second group of plants, and these are the terrafights. As an example, you should know that these are your ferns. Your book also gives some other examples like the horsetail. I think it'd be really important if you knew ferns. Some of their key adaptations are that they have vascular tissues. So this is our first one with vascular tissue. And the others will also have vascular tissue. And remember that allows the transport of water and nutrients. They also have lignin. And this helps provide structural support. Allows them to grow taller and protects them too. They also have some restrictions to a moist environment. Not quite as much as the bryophytes, the mosses, but still they have some restrictions there. Unlike the bryophytes, the terrafights are dominated by this sporophyte generation. I'm going to erase a little bit of this so we can talk about roots, leaves, and transport. So if we were to draw with the shoot at the top, and then the shoot will have leaves coming off of it. And down below we have the roots. So what purpose do the roots have? Well, let's list a few of them. They serve as an anchor to anchor the plant. They absorb water and nutrients from the soil. That's all you need to know about roots. Now what about the leaves? What do you need to know about the leaves? The main thing they do, their claim to fame, is that they capture solar energy for photosynthesis. Leaves also contain in them chloroplasts, which makes sense since chloroplasts are the organelles responsible for photosynthesis. Now these are the first vascular plants, so let's talk a little bit more about the vascular tissue. The vascular tissue as we said on the first podcast, allows the movement of nutrients. So it allows the movement of water and nutrients. Vascular tissue can be one of 2 types. It can be xylem or it can be phloem. Xylem is part of the vascular tissue that transports water, as well as any dissolved minerals. Phloem transports nutrients, like sugars. The way I have memorized these over time is that when I think of nutrients and sugars, I think of food. And when I hear the word phloem, they both start with the same F sound, which helps me remember that food, or the nutrients and sugar, move through the phloem, and then xylem is just the other one, and it moves water. All right, that's all you need to know from objective 3. All right, in the fourth objective, we talk about the third group of plants known as the gymnosperms. These include your conifers. Conifers are like the evergreens we see, the Christmas trees. Those are our conifers. Their key adaptation is that they have seeds and pollen. Gymnosperms are also dominated by the sporophyte. So let's talk a little bit more about seeds and pollen. A seed contains the plant embryo. And a food supply for that embryo. The pollen, or you might want to call that pollen grain, but we'll take pollen for the test, contains cells that will develop into the sperm. It contains sperm producing cells. The pollen does something else as well. It's a key evolutionary adaptation that frees the gymnosperm from the reliance on water. So I'm going to say it this way: no longer dependent on water to transfer sperm to egg. So gymnosperms are the first ones that aren't as reliant on that moist environment. All right, that ends objective 4. And now we can talk about our last objective, objective 5. In objective 5, we're going to focus on our fourth group of plants. And these are angiosperms. These are our flowering plants. Some of their key adaptations, not surprising, is that they have flowers. And this helps attract pollinators. Pollinators are like bees and birds that move pollen from one plant to another plant, from one flower to another flower, and this helps exchange genetic material. They also have fruits. Fruits help in seed dispersal. Finally, just like the other vascular plants, they are dominated by the sporophyte stage. And that's all you need to know from Objective 5. That ends this podcast. If you have any questions, please let me know and we'll do our best to answer them. We'll see you in class. Bye.